Tanzania, we have a total discovery of 57.54 TCF of gas. This is a huge amount of gas, and this gas were discovered between, if you leave those two that were discovered by Ajib, but a big chunk of this reserve was discovered between 2010 and 2016. And the discovery were made both offshore and onshore. Onshore, we have 10.41 TCF, and offshore we have a total of 47.13 of gas. We call this is gas in place. And the discovery, the recoverable gas in totality stands at 25.0 TCF. So currently we are producing from two gas fields. We are producing from Nasbay and the Songo. And our current production per day stands at 220 million standard cubic feet per day. And we have 10 active PSCA. We have 4 exploration licenses in Ruvu, Ruvuma, Kilosa, Kilombero, and the Nyuni area. We also have other licenses offshore on Block 1, 2, and 4. Block 1 and 4, they are operated by Shell and their partners. And Block 2 is operated by Equinor and ExxonMobil. We have 3 development licenses. Those are Songo, Kilwan North, and the Nasbay. And actually, these are producing fields. So this is just to show what have been done in some of the upstream blocks. We have the Ruvu block, Victoria block that we are still working. We have a number of activities or data that we have been acquiring on these blocks. We have done some seismic data. We are also preparing for drilling for the Kilosa Kilombero, and for the Nyuni area. For the Nyuni area, we are planning for 3D seismic acquisition on Block 1, 2, and 4. As I said before, those are discoveries. And right now, we are working with our partners, Shell and Equinor, to develop the LNG. I will talk a little bit about LNG a little bit later. But let's look at the projects that we have. And this, we call them the priority projects. The first project, this is the LNG project. Because of the huge discovery that we have made offshore, to be able to commercialize that gas, we need to build a plant, LNG plant offshore, and we are planning to build one in Lindi. This is a $30 billion US dollar project, and the minister talked a little bit about this project. And the status now is we have acquired the land already, and we have done all the compensation to the affected people. We paid about 5.71 billion for the compensation, we have studies going there. And the negotiations started in November 8th, and next week we will also meet in Arusha to continue with negotiations. And we hope that upon completion of the negotiations, we'll have signed HGA for the LNG, and that will pave way for the construction of the LNG plant and eventually the production of gas from the offshore. Another project that we call a priority project, this is Mnazi Bay North project. As you can see down there on the map on the right-hand side, this project is sandwiched between the we are planning to drill 2 wells next year, and we believe that this project will add more gas to the existing production. As we've been talking, that we have been talking to our neighbors, Kenya, we've been talking to Uganda for the purpose of supplying gas. So we hope that with the discovery of this field or the prospect, we will be able to supply gas. And actually, our plan in the future is to create a natural gas hub in Tanzania. Gas pipeline from Dar-es-Salaam to Zambia. So that's another opportunity. And we, TPDC and the government, we are ready. We have plenty of gas to be able to supply our neighbors. Tanzania, we don't have oil yet, but we have very potential basins in terms of the geology, very similar to the ones in Uganda, in Albert Lake. And we are working in Tanzania to explore oil in the Eyasi-Wembere Basin. We have done quite a lot of work here. We have drilled 3 shallow wells. We are planning to acquire 2D seismic. And finally, we'll be drilling. And we are very optimistic on this prospect that we might have our first oil discovery in this area. And this is something that we are very hopeful that we'll get good results, just like, because they are very, very similar in terms of the geology with Lokcha and the Albert Basin. So in the downstream, I'll go very quick. I know I don't have a lot of time, but in the downstream, we have our capacity. We do processing gas, and we also transport and distribute gas. We have a total capacity to process 470 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. And the network, the transmission, we have a total of 800 kilometers of pipeline. And for the distribution, we have about 100 kilometers of network. And we are expanding every day. And our objective is to reach everybody. Right now, we are working in Mtwara, Lindi, in Dar-es-Salaam, and we are distributing, or we are supplying gas to household. We are also having a project to build CNG that will supply natural gas to the vehicles, but also supply gas to areas that we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the pipeline. So those projects are going on, and those are the opportunities that are available. And we have TPDC, we have announced, would like to partner the private building CNG also in the supply side of supply gas to Uganda. So that would be a reverse pipeline going to Uganda to supply natural gas. But also we have an MOU with Kenya to supply gas from Dar-es-Salaam or Tanga to Mombasa. Zambia also, we are talking to Zambia. And so I can see that very soon Tanzania will become a natural gas hub. And as I said, we have plenty of gas, and we are ready to supply to our neighbors. I'm out of time, but a lot of people have already talked about the ECOP. I just want to end up here, and then I will take it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I've been requested, in view of the time limitations, to keep the UNOC presentation, Uganda National Oil presentation, relatively short, and I'll start right away. We have 8 major projects as a national oil company in Uganda, straddling upstream, midstream, and downstream. I think most of these projects are very familiar to the audience. Of course, we know about the Tilenga and Kingfisher developments. We've talked about the refinery, ECOP, Kabale Industrial Park. As well as the storage terminals, Kampala Storage Terminal and Jinja Storage Terminal. We will have an opportunity to talk in more detail about these projects. I think there's a project financing workshop coming up, so I think I'm going to defer some of that more detailed explanation to that workshop or to that panel discussion. But just high level, we, as far as the refinery project is concerned, we have completed the FEED as the PS indicated. We've completed the front-end engineering design. The environmental social impact assessment will also be completed next month. The project is very attractive. We're looking at internal rate of returns after tax in the 17 to 22% range, depending upon the scenario and that you're looking at. And this is a combination of 2 factors. One is the crude oil netback price, of course, that will be paid by the refinery for the supplies of crude oil it gets, as well as the refined products will be priced based on import parity pricing. So it's a very attractive investment opportunity. Government of Uganda has committed a 40% equity participation. Although we'd like to do that with our partners in the East African states, we recall that Tanzania and Kenya had indicated their interest in participating in the refinery, and the products from the refinery will be Euro 5 quality, so essentially the same quality that's currently imported into the region, and there will be a significant excess of petrol that can be exported into Western Kenya and to Northern Tanzania, and there will be a very significant excess of LPG, as Uganda's LPG usage at the moment is fairly low. So that will be certainly a short to medium-term opportunity that we see working with the region. In addition, we are looking to convert heavy fuel oil into nitrogenous fertilizer, which will support the agriculture in the East Africa region. So that's, I think, a priority project for us as well. The refinery project is located within Kabale Industrial Park, which is a 29.57 square kilometer, or for those of us that are farmers in the room, 7,300 acres of land. In that industrial park, we have Uganda's second international airport that is currently under construction at about 70% complete. We will be taking commercial cargo flights from around about March 2023, so 2 years ahead of first oil. So it will be ready to basically support oil and gas upstream developments, as well as ECOP as necessary. I think we would just like to emphasize that within the industrial park we have finalized the land allocation policy at the UNOC board level, and that land allocation policy is what is opening up the park for investors in heavy industry, which is including fertilizers and polymers, but also in the light medium industry sector, as well as commercial warehousing and the like. We're very focused on agro-processing, focused on cold chain and logistics to support agriculture in the region. And so that's another opportunity that we see that it'll help us domestically with agro products, but also export opportunities that we see to the Middle East as well as the rest of Africa for agricultural products. So that industrial park right now, the master plan has been approved. We are currently finalizing design procurements for all the major infrastructure, roads, water, wastewater, electricity, and as well as ICT. We're locating a 240 megawatt high voltage substation inside that park, and that will be also another government investment in addition to the investments that we'd heard about from the PS relating to the 700 kilometers of roads as well. As of course the private sector to start taking advantage of such infrastructure. I think from going forward, we are definitely seeing, as a national oil company, we're seeing a project financing challenge, especially in view of the developments that have come out of COP26. We're seeing that we need to adjust our strategy to cater for the energy transition. And we are certainly thinking that in terms of capital for some of the projects, even private sector capital, there needs to be maybe more African solutions to our challenges, because the rest of the world is now focusing on renewable energy, and we're seeing that already in some of the financing discussions we're having, for example, with ECOP, that impact. So I think that's really what we wanted to high level provide to you, given the time constraints. And the main moderator, Maurice, has asked me to take 2 questions from the audience for the panel. And thereafter we have to hand over to the next session. So I'd like to invite any member of the audience to throw a question in our direction, but they're just 2. I'm not seeing any hands raised, Maurice, from the audience. Does that mean we've gained 10 minutes? There's a hand. I think you have a microphone, so please identify yourself.
There are microphones on the table.
The microphone in front of you.
You can use the mic on your front of you.
Thank you very much. My name is Clement Morea from Tanzania Civil Engineering Contractors Association. I just wanted to know how are the local content legislation in Uganda and Tanzania harmonized? I mean, if you have one in Uganda, then Tanzania goes there and is treated as an outsider, of course, and the same applies for Tanzania. How are those harmonized? Thank you.
Thank you. That's one question. Is there a second, the final question?
There is a microphone. Just check if that microphone is working on the table. Just please. There is a microphone on your table,
yes.
Or any of the tables. Feel free.
Yeah. It is working. I just have one question.
Where are you? We need to know
Please
where
identify yourself.
Here. Okay.
My name is Paul Makanza from Tanzania Private Sector Foundation. We talked about opportunities, which were very nicely highlighted. I just wanted to know how are we going to ensure that not only the large companies get a piece of the pie, what about the SMEs? How do we ensure that they also are considered and they get a piece of the action? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. We're just taking one final question. I've been advised by the moderator who can take, main moderator who can take one more.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Marinos. I'm from FCO Crane and Plant Hire. We've got the biggest cranes in East Africa. I need to know in terms of the TAN roads legislation for contractors and logistics, what are they going to do regarding regulations when it comes to abnormal transport for these projects and to alleviate the big or the exorbitant surcharge when it comes to abnormal transport, which hinders economic growth, which hinders job security, which hinders employment opportunities for people. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think I'll turn over to first the PS Energy for Uganda. She will address a couple of the local content questions.
I'll take the first question on how the local content legislation in Uganda and Tanzania is harmonized. As part of the harmonization process for purposes of developing the East African crude oil pipeline, we did sit as the two states to arrive at a harmonized regime for local content for the two states. So to a large extent, we have provided for almost similar requirements when it comes to the major pillars for national content. If there is any disparity in the two states' national content, it's largely around the areas of ring-fenced goods and services. In Uganda, we expanded it to cover about 16 areas, and in Tanzania, it was limited to about 12. But largely, our local content regime is harmonized. If you took the local content regulations for Tanzania and read them side by side with the Ugandan ones, it is a mirror of each other. So to a large extent, given the integrated nature of the pipeline, we've ensured that harmony. We've even gone another step to ensure that when you apply local content, if a Tanzanian was to work in Uganda, it is deemed as local content achieved on the project, or if a Ugandan is to work in Tanzania. So we've removed that boundary, and it is a seamless, integrated national content regime. So there is no major disparity in the two states' national content. Thank you.
Thank you, PS. Michael, did you want to perhaps respond to the second question?
Yeah. First of all, let me thank the Permanent Secretary for clarifying on the issue of the local content. The issue of SMEs, basically, the opportunities are there, and we intend to work very closely with the associations and probably through the Private Sector Foundation to see how now can be categorized and help in order for them also to participate on these opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I would like to thank on behalf of the audience, thank the very distinguished panel for presenting to us. I think we've overshot our time by 5 minutes, but I'll hand back to Maurice to take us further. Thank you, everybody. Maybe a round of applause for the audience.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our panel. Michael and team, thank you. So I'll now allow you to take your seats and just make one. or two adjustments to the sitting arrangement.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Protocol observed. I will adhere to the time allocated. We are going to have an interesting discussion on local participation. Some questions were asked, and the speakers, the able speakers that I'm going to invite will be able to deep dive and be able to tell us more on the local content, on how we are going to empower our people such that along the value chain and along the pipeline, they take active roles and not become passive, ranging from a large corporate to what my brother Paul Makanza initiated or advised SMEs and startup. I'd like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Tobias Lamila from Energy and Water Utilities Region of Tanzania. Please come and take the stage. Followed by Ernest Rubongo, Executive Director, Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Followed by Nelson Kanawa, Head of Corporate Banking, NMB Bank, Tanzania. Tony Okao Otoa, CEO of the Stanbic Business Incubator. This session is co-hosted with my sister from Uganda. She will handle the question and answer session. This is none but Irene Birungi Mugisha. She's a coordinator, Presidential CEO Forum from State House in Uganda. Irene will come later during question and answers. Now, without taking much time, 4 minutes each, I would like to call upon Mr. Robias Lamira to give us his presentation. 4 minutes maximum.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tobias, collectively said by the moderator. I will be just taking you through one or two slides on the local content regulation, which is being undertaken by EULA. Let us all be aware that after establishing the PULA and the EULA is mandated to regulate the mid and downstream, where the ECO project will be regulated. So what we do, we regulate the local content issues, but also we will be issuing the construction approval plus the operation license. That's important. The pillars of the local content has been said by the previous speakers. When you are talking of the issue of employment, training, procurement, issues of legal, technical, insurance, but also the financial services. Let me go. Of interest could be the local content, the local service provider, and the supply database, which is operated or EULA is mandated to establish under the regulations, but it has already been established. And our local companies have been registering into that database. We are happy to announce that we have a number of 1,011 companies already registered into the company. What are the requirements? Normally, these are the statutory legal documents which makes you to be a company. Through BRAILA, you need to have the duly complete application form you have to apply, but you have the certificate of incorporation, tax, a certificate of business license. Those are the normal things we need to check and ensure that you are regularly constituted, so that the IOCs, when they will be looking you to offer the services, they don't lend into scammers. Important to say, my PS has already said that on the group of registered service providers, I need not to repeat. So from 22 October, we have launched a common qualification system application where the local companies now will be applying through the web-based. So we are just waiting for the launching of this by our minister. So once it's launched, we'll just issue the notification so that the local company, the SME, which has been mentioned by one of the TPSF official, then they will be able now to make their application through the common qualification systems. Let me talk about the challenges. So far, most of the companies which are registered, once they register with the EULA, they think they have already got the job. We have been telling them, being registered does not qualify you to get the job. You will have to go through the procurement process of the companies. And if you meet the criteria, then you will get your share. Another challenge we are getting is that most of the companies, maybe in this country, I don't know, in Uganda, they lack the documentation. We keep back and forth, please bring this, which they are supposed to have, because if you want to participate in these bigger projects, you must be equipped in terms of the legal constitution, but also the capital and the other things. Another challenge we are getting is that people do come to register when the tender is already announced. So you start questioning on the preparation. Because these are bigger projects, these are bigger tender, you need the financial muscle, you need to prepare yourself. Now you come to register to EULA while the tender is already being announced. So we think this is the challenge. The last one is that we need to collaborate with the other government agencies, because enforcement of these JV agreements, which our local companies are entering with these foreign companies, how far are we sure? We are going to be sure that the local company will be getting the fair share? Because you might be lured by the foreign company so that the foreign company gets the job. But enforcement of what you have agreed in the JV agreement might be a problem. So we are just urging that other entities like BRERA, FCC, and the other constituted agencies, let us collaborate and enforce the JV agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Claps of hands for him. NS Rubongo, Executive Director, Petroleum Authority of Uganda. 4 minutes maximum.
5, please. Thank you very much, moderator. Ladies and gentlemen who are in the house and all those who are online, it's a privilege for me to be here. I'll thank all those who have organized this session. 4 minutes is not a lot of time, but I would like to start by saying this is my 4th time to speak at this convention, and I would like to say that all of us who are related to the oil and gas sector, those who are living in the generation in Uganda and Tanzania now, are living in extremely interesting times. When you're talking about the opportunities we are talking about today, you have to get emotional unless you are a very strong person or you are a strong actor. I'll use my 4 minutes to just say why I think we are all living in extremely interesting times. There are some challenges, but they are nothing compared to the opportunities that are in front of us. I won't have time to make this presentation, but I'll say one thing about the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. If we can go, I don't know whether I'm the one who shifts it. Do I have the remote? It's where? Thank you. Moderator, since you kept it, I'll have 1 more minute. So I'll just go to the next slide. Where do I point it? Okay. Well, the petroleum